Thank you so much, ma'am, for the interview.
Thank you.
So, ma'am, let me start by asking you the question, what inspired you to be a journalist?
Well, I have been a very opinionated person, and things around have always affected me very much. And as a natural progression, I took to social work because I thought I could make a tangible change in society. But you felt very helpless beyond a point because you could help A, you could help B, but it's only through policy changes can you change the entire scene. Can you talk about tangible changes on the surface at least of this country? So I moved on to social activism and things like that. But then over a period of time, I realized that only when you can play a pressure group on the policymakers of the country can you actually raise the real questions that will affect the future of this country. And that's what led me to journalism. I joined Jamia and then it went on, and as you see, it's been more than a decade now.
So, ma'am, could you please share some good memorable moments you as being a journalist?
When anyone asks me this question, the most interesting part that comes to my mind is I have seen TV grow over a period of time. There have been, when I remember for a particular channel when I was working, I have reported for Prince, who was actually stuck in a borewell for more than 10 hours, 12 hours. So that's the kind of journalism that was a face of television journalism at one time. But over a period of time, we got into hardcore political, and today hardcore political news actually rules the television network. So that's a very encouraging and very interesting thing that I've seen. But talking of memorable, such instances when you're reporting from outside the field, the kind of experiences you have, they are just mind-boggling and path-breaking, because that's when you have that real connect. You're not in a bubble inside the studio. You're out with people, their opinions, their problems, and how you then bring it forth through your stories matters a lot, because we in studios and guests tend to be very opinionated, but half the time we don't even know what is happening on the real ground. So it's only when you go there, you talk to people and they give you a smart one-liner.
Yes.
And there and then you know where you stand, so that's a very memorable part of this journey.
Ma'am, nowadays news stories are being affected by Twitter trends. So, ma'am, what is your view on that?
I know I'm going to upset a lot of people when I say that, but Twitter and social media is a lot of actually, these political parties officially employing trolls, working. I have talked to most of these spokespersons off screen, and they tell me how they have actually employed people who punch in, punch out, come in, work as trolls, make a certain thing trend, make a certain thing not trend, or what is going to be highlighted on social media, they decided. So this kind of fabrication actually affects the kind of stories we are playing and what is most important for the country, because there's an interesting joke now that's going around which says that in Delhi, people are busy trying to understand what is nationalism and what is anti-national, and in the rest of the world, people are doing something important. So social media has its own dynamics, where people are just playing up what they think is important or projecting themselves through whatever trolls or whatever armies of people they have on Twitter and internet. But I think real stories also matter, because I have seen a lot of very important issues actually being played through the social media, and then the media has been forced to pick it up. So it's both ways. It's both ways.
Ma'am, nowadays political parties have started launching their news channels. So, ma'am, how do you think, how fair is that, and what is your view on that?
It's been, it's not that nowadays it's happening, it's been happening for quite some time, because even in the south, in Maharashtra, Gujarat, you go to these places, you have the regional channels, which are actually run by political parties. But people are very smart. People are very smart. The viewer knows. When they see that both sides of the story are not being played up, they know it's not journalism. They know it's a particular political party which is playing up their policies and their propaganda and their, advertisement or whatever through a channel. So people are very smart, trust me.
Ma'am, you as a citizen of the country, ma'am, what is your view on the current Modi government?
Okay, so as a journalist, it is very, very crucial that my personal view and opinion do not come in either public domain, or in my opinions, or when I'm talking to people, or see, this media today in this country is going through a very important phase where certain people are branded as pro, certain people are branded as anti. It's very important that you question each one with the same kind of strength, but no one should ever know which party you vote for.
Yes. So, ma'am, you feel that so any journalist should not support any political party. They should be neutral towards all the political parties.
Absolutely, they should be very neutral. They should be very aggressive for any wrongdoing, and uh, no one should be a holy cow. I strongly follow that opinion that nobody in the country is a holy cow. Nobody is above questions. Yeah.
So, ma'am, according to you, should media be regulated by the government or should it be given complete freedom?
I think complete freedom, and media in itself has formed these bodies which are actually self-regulatory, which is working in a very efficient and good way. So I think beyond that, you cannot have, there should be zero interference from the government, because that will then lead to a lot of complications, and then it will be as good as a toothless, non-existent media. You don't want a media that is lying low.
Okay, ma'am, but still we see that there's a continuous increase in yellow journalism, media sensationalization. So what is your view on that?
See, these are sides to journalism that will always remain, because it's very difficult to get a pure product in this country, in any profession, I think. And we should not run after that pureness also, because it's a part of the evolution. It's going to evolve. It's going to reach a point where we will be able to shed off these what side effects you call them, or people
Barriers
on the
to the media
sidelines,
industry.
who are looking for quick money or things like that. But what is important is that the good and the best part of it will always survive. Journalism is something where the good stories actually speak for themselves. We live and die by the stories we tell. So our existence is going to be the good stories. And every time we become party to something, I think people will question us, and that should be our path correction.
Ma'am, so don't you think that even if there is a little bit of intervention of the government, it will affect the media industry in a positive way?
No, it will not, because then the government will always want you to say yes to their yeses and the no's to their no's. This just cannot be allowed. Any kind of interference from the government is very, very negative according to me, because then whoever is in power, see, it's not about 5 years of this government or 5 years of the next government. Whoever is in government will actually try to take you into their hands, and that can be very dangerous for a country like India or any country in the world.
So, ma'am, if I ask you to bring out the difference between the Indian media and the Western media, what difference would you like to point out?
Oh, that's a very interesting question, because so these days when I'm following CNN and a lot of these English channels, especially the post-Trump election phase, I feel they've become more of a Indian channel, because I remember a time when their screen used to be very clean and there was very sophisticated conversation. Now you have highly opinionated cross-questioning and a lot of drama happening across Western media. But you have to give it to them that they have evolved over. And in India, television and such journalism is not more than a decade and a half old. So it's going to take a little more time for them to evolve and reach that level. But in terms of quality and everything, I think we're up there.
Ma'am, recently the Supreme Court has banned the exit polls.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, but we still have the opinion polls. Ma'am, do you think that both the exit polls and the opinion polls should be banned?
I think not. I think not, because see, political parties all stand up because every time somebody is winning, then everybody is very happy with the opinion poll. They are not, then they are against it. But opinion polls are a very healthy way of trying to understand, analyze, and people who are on the ground know that it's a very scientific technique by which you're interviewing certain number of people. Right. You're accumulating the data and do it, and every party who's losing in the opinion polls actually say that it's been rigged and it's been this, it's been that, you've been paid this, but it's been a part of Indian politics and we played it like that in the news. I think that opinion polls are just fine. The netas need to just take it easy also at times.
So what is a major reason for banning the exit polls according to you?
I think because the biggest reason was in the sense that especially if you have it in phases, then it affects. So that's a very obvious reason, that if you have it in a certain phase and then you're predicting those, then you're affecting the other people, the other phases of the other constituencies that are going to polls next. But apart from that, also a lot of inaccuracies come out in the sense that I can come out and I can vote for a certain party and say something else. So as far as I'm talking about my opinion, and I think who's done better in which things, those opinion polls can be important. But exit polls can be a little dicey in that context.
So, ma'am, how do you see the future of Indian media, and what changes would you like to bring in the Indian media?
I think Indian media is doing just fine. We are a very, very, in a way, aggressive lot. Time to time, we tend to play up stories or play down stories, but I think by and large we're on the right track. And I think people who are questioning media in a big way today is because there have been certain people who have actually openly come out and played their heart on their head right here, saying I support this one, I go. It's also their social media presence where a lot of journalists actually tweet which are very partisan, where you just tell them that I am with this party and not with that party. I think that is the biggest thing that we need to check. Beyond the point, media people just have to be very, very neutral, and your questions have to be equally aggressive for all parties. Because if you lose that credibility, then there's a problem somewhere.
Ma'am, so according to you, journalists should be aggressive to some extent?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's our job, to play critical.
So ma'am, don't you feel that there should be any changes in the media currently?
I think there should not be much changes, but I do believe that this is what I'm saying again and again. We cannot afford to be partisan.
Right.
This is a very important juncture in media and how the politics of this country is playing. We cannot afford to be partisan. You cannot openly stand with one party and against one party. A lot of people are doing that. I think that is a big threat, because real evolution can actually, get damaged by that, which will be not good for a democracy like ours.
So ma'am, lastly I would like to ask you to give a good message for students who are aspiring to become journalists in future.
Okay, my first message to you is work really hard, in the sense that work hard on yourself. Because I've met a lot of young budding journalists in different institutions when I go, who tell me कि नौकरी नहीं लगती, आप सब इधर से उधर से लगती है, पैरवी से लगती है. But trust me, even if you get that one opportunity and you're good, then people around will notice you. I have seen interns, we have seen, with these eyes of experience over years, we know that out of these 5 people, this is the intern I can bet on. What makes me decide that? If you know that this is it, that little window that you get, you have to just fly off. If you don't take off, then it's your problem. And read newspapers. You should know your thing. You cannot afford to be very, very, aware on a surface thing. You have to know the depth of it.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this interview. So we'll be right back with the next episode very soon. Thank you.